gonna trouble the water. In the water. In the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. No mother, no father, and the only child I had just drowned. It's a paradise transformed into a daily war. 202 years of freedom, free to rob, terrorize, kill, defamiliarize, defamily each other, ourselves, our only hope of escape. Escape dying in the struggle for life. It's the only successful slave revolt that has never ended. The revolution continues in Haiti. Haiti, oui. Haiti, chérie. Haiti. Rosalie, oh, Rosalie, oh.
I'm still not.
Pushing the little thing down. We're live?
Yes, we're live. Welcome to the Nonviolent Communication Show. If you have trouble relating to yourself,
Good place to start.
yes, or anybody else, we're going to be discussing Marsha Rosenberg's nonviolent communication. Hi, Columbia. You're going to get along, hard as it to imagine, even better with yourself after we hear from Paul Merrill, who's been teaching nonviolent communication for how long?
About 10 years.
Wow. So this, we lucked out tonight. We're taking on the Super Bowl mano a mano.
Again, we'll do our best.
We'll do our best. See,
right.
Paul is modest. So we were talking about responsibility. We're going to assume that you've read Marsha, or if you haven't, go out and get Marsha Rosenberg's book on nonviolent communication, and we'll explain some of the fundamental ways to resolve in a compassionate sort of way, yes? Mm-hmm. Challenges we have in communication. And one of the things Marshall says, maybe Paul can explain it for us, is which is extremely freeing, we're not responsible for what other people feel, but we are 100% responsible for what we feel. I have that right, yes?
Yeah. And in being responsible for our feelings, we're also responsible for the relationship. I like the expression of taking 100% responsibility for a relationship, which doesn't mean taking responsibility for the other person's feelings, but taking responsibility for the capacity to change, modify, transform a relationship, even if you're the only person with the skills or doing work of insight. You don't sit there resenting other people. Why aren't you better? Why didn't you take the courses that I took? You use your skills to try to understand what someone is needing and wanting, even when they're doing things that you don't enjoy at all.
So I used this one example, which I was sharing with you, and you were kind enough to explore. I have a male friend of mine, I'll call him Charlie, who has mixed feelings about me. And so there was once a woman that I was courting that Charlie was interested in, and he lost. And so he's still a friend of the family, but I think Charlie is angry at me. I'm not sure he'd admit it. And so I'm changing the scenario a little bit.
Sounds like it.
Yes.
If you're confused, I'm confused
did I
also.
confuse you?
No, this is fine. Keep going.
Yeah.
I think part of NVC practice is to not worry too much about the story and the details. So please keep going.
I see. I was sharing something like this with you.
That's fine, yes.
And so Charlie's giving me a unasked for massage. Just we're sitting at his home, and I know in some part of me, but I don't really consciously, I don't want this, but I don't want to hurt his feelings.
So there's the place where in that moment you felt trapped about something that you had two conflicting needs you were trying to meet in that moment.
Yes, and I'm not so good to say it that way, but you're right.
Yeah.
In my own goody two-shoes guy, I want to be a nice person, and I'm not even sure how honest I am with myself, but I don't really want this. I knew kind of I didn't.
True. When you talked about it before, I think you were sort of telling yourself, maybe this is what I want. Doesn't feel like what I want, but maybe it really is.
Maybe it'll be very nice. Yes.
Right.
Now I know. No,
it was
Charlie,
to do.
No,
Right.
Do not touch me unless I invite it.
Right.
So now I learned that, but I had to learn it. Huh?
I think you had, I don't want to say a failure of imagination, but that you didn't have in that moment, this is a phrase I like, it was beyond your skill level to recognize the choices that were available to you.
Wow. Isn't that nice?
Right? That you could be kind to yourself.
Instead of saying, you punk, why didn't you know?
Right, but also you're not being nice to yourself now. You, Michael, are saying, I fail, I'm a loser.
Yeah, well, I wasn't. But I've learned. Actually, I don't use that language with me anymore. Finally. Oh, but you say that again. That was so beautiful. It was a little beyond my skill level.
That is a phrase that I often like using when things that I previously would have not called failures, and just to say this went beyond my skill level.
I can see in my tombstone, life was beyond the skill level.
There we go. So have some compassion. Also, practice some accuracy. It's like, what were those elements that contributed to making it beyond your skill?
Wow, this is, you see, the reason I have Paul on is I'm getting free NVC counseling.
I think that was probably one of the best ways we could spend this hour.
See, I didn't realize that either. but one at a time now. Okay.
All right. Let's pace ourselves.
But I like this. Life has been
beyond your skill level.
Beyond my skill level. I'm just comforting and just feel I'm not sure if I said that to someone else.
Whether they would say that.
To my dear significant other, I can see relationships are beyond your skill level.
Well, that's getting more tender.
I don't mean that. She's watching. Right. I don't mean that. No, I'm just
not you, honey.
Not you. Not no other significant others. Well, no, we've been doing fine, thank you.
Right. Looking back on one's past, can't one often say it was beyond my skill level? Oh, it's sad, but just and you can also accept it. I couldn't see my choices. I couldn't understand.
That's off. And the more we grow, the more we realize that there were skills that we didn't have.
Right, and that there were other options, and that there was a way, I'm sure, you could have communicated to Charles and not hurt his feelings. Imagine you say,
How would I do that? That's a new skill level.
I don't know, I don't.
Let's try that. Okay,
Right.
we're now going to have true story theater.
All right.
That's not the way to do it.
Could be.
That's how I would feel at the moment
Right.
now. I would.
Well, then you could say, you can make your request. Please don't give me a back massage now.
Yeah, I'm not into it right now. I just had. That's so easy now that I think of it.
Right,
I
and-
just had this meditation prior afternoon retreat, and I can't handle any touch at all.
And the other part that feels missing is to empathize.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, and also imagine the possible needs. That he was trying to meet by offering you this massage.
Thank you for wanting to hurt me. No, I understand. No.
Yeah, right. I think we need to keep translating through the underbrush. We need to get in there with our shears.
Now, what do you do when people want? I mean, a lot of people want to hurt other people. I do too, right?
Well-
If you're driving, I don't usually feel, but sometimes.
I think let's back up for a moment
Yep.
and give some of these frameworks for this
Yep.
thing that we've just jumped in here talking about nonviolent communication.
Yes.
What are its components?
Okay.
I'm not violent. How does this whole thing work? One concept is to the idea that you're always looking for needs that people are meeting in doing whatever they're doing, and that needs, like, let's say that person who's driving down the road who cut you off and you're cursing at them as we do. In that moment, that person is meeting needs for, well, who knows what they're meeting needs for, but it could be for connection. Maybe they want to connect with the person where they're going. Maybe they're wanting to they're late, they're wanting to keep an agreement. So just the way we also want to keep our agreements, also we want to connect with people so that you're able to have that filter of needs, and you bring that awareness to however life shows up.
So I can invite you, but you can pass. Is there any particular situation you would like to share and to reveal this?
Where I have used
Where there's been some. No, let me pass on that.
Okay.
We'll still stay with Charlie, yes, because we're.
okay, or else bring it on. But anything, take it wherever you want to go.
So according to nonviolent communication, I'm supposed to get in touch with my own needs, right? What do I need at the moment? And if I was really good, I would know I needed to protect my body.
So you say you wanted safety? So you wanted
Yes, I wanted safety.
Autonomy. You really wanted choice. You really wanted choice about
all of those.
Do I want a massage now?
Yes, all those things.
Sometimes massage brings you lots of needs: intimacy, touch, relaxation.
And
at the moment, those you were prioritizing other needs.
But the other need to be polite did me in.
True.
Because I didn't have the skills to be polite and say no.
Right.
Thank you.
Right, and I would say politeness is a tool, a strategy. It's kind of a jargon term that we use in the biz, but it's something we use to meet other needs. Politeness in itself is not something you need, but it meets other needs: consideration, care, kindness, compassion, the capacity to imagine his experience. Oh, he's going to be really
shocked. He might have had many needs. He might have been a little angry at me. He might have wanted to connect with me.
He might have wanted to communicate his anger to you through
He might not have been aware, just as I wasn't. Might have had many feelings. So, what if their need is, I could feel this, to hurt someone?
Well, I guess I still think of hurting is an expression of another need. The mother slaps her child to meet her need to educate and care for her child. Right? Kind of a shocking thought, but when you think of when parents hurt their kids, it's often in the sense of you need to know how to behave. You need to know how the world works. Yeah, I'm going to teach you a lesson so that you understand. It's all to meet education.
Paul is a kind person.
Okay.
I can see this.
Sometimes.
I can see. Now, my beloved parents, when I was born, they were trying to force feed me.
Okay.
Every 4 hours. You were lucky you were born
A little bit later.
yeah.
Right. We had our own thing.
Yes,
So
this was this famous doctor, Spock, I think.
But don't you think that they were it's painful to say, but don't you think they were doing the best they knew how to do?
I don't.
Okay.
I think they were honest enough to know that what they did know they hated each other.
All right.
And I was the firstborn, and that was trapping them into a marriage they didn't like.
Right.
This is what I think.
Right. Sorry. Right. We wish we weren't here, kind of.
Yeah, we don't want to be here, and we don't want you to hear. We wish you
because you're
here, and so I think a good part of them to the very end, they love theater. And I think to the very, from the beginning of my life, my father was kind enough to tell me this. He holds me down because I don't eat for those.
Right.
They don't want to spoil me. So my dear beloved father holds me down with his fireman hands. He's stronger than me. I can't quite take him on then at the age of 2 months. It would have been hard mono, just like we're taking on the Super Bowl.
Right. The Tatar. Right. Same thing. It's happening again.
It's gonna go. So he's holding me down, and because I refuse to eat at the end of the 4th hour. Good for me. Somehow in my 2-month-old body, I know if you didn't feed me when this isn't conscious yet, but I'm not eating at the end of the 4th hour. I refuse to eat.
It sounds like, well, let's say a couple things. First, I just want to say I'm touched by the story. I'm saddened by the story. I have regret that was your experience, that you'd experienced more sensitivity to what you authentically wanted.
Even me as a 2-month-old.
You didn't receive. Yeah.
I didn't want to eat on their schedule.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That you really wanted someone to hear you. You wanted someone to understand.
Oh, that's a nice way of. Oh, yes, such a helpful way to look at it. Yes, that this isn't working, guys.
Right. And you were trying to communicate.
Yeah. Oh, mine.
No.
Thank you. I never looked at it
with
that
all
way.
the skills, with all the
Wow.
at your highest skill level of your 4-month-old.
Oh, that feels very nice. I like this. So then they hold me down.
Yeah.
Then they didn't like the fact that I wasn't eating at all, that's at least good. I'm glad they didn't say, well, if he's not going to eat tough noogies,
Never feed him again. Right.
He's going to eat at 4 hours, we'll wait another 4 hours. No, they didn't do that, which was, thank you, mother.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's a surprise. Wow. So you think in some ways that they did hear you or observe or were sensitive to you in some ways?
Maybe they didn't want to be known to they would go to jail.
There are clearly many layers here. There's no doubt about that.
But they do. My father does hold me down.
Yeah. Wow.
And my mother forces, I guess, some liquid down me. And my father tells me before he dies, "Thank you, Charles, that that explains why you've been such a stubborn person your whole life." So, but at the very end of my life, not my life. What an interesting.
I know, interesting.
What an interesting.
Not there yet, right?
Wow.
But still, you're looking at some.
I take my beloved mother, who was the one who force-fed me, to visit the grave of her father, and then we go to visit my parents. And my father's this is complicated, but make it very simple, is at this time living with someone else.
Okay.
But my parents have a secret rendezvous with each other. They're one of the few married couples who have secret rendezvous.
After you visited this gravesite.
Yes. So I come there, and my father first says, "Oh, when are you leaving?" That's his opening sentence.
Right.
And then leaves his hearing aid at his new home, but we're beginning to have a conversation. And I love it. we're talking like you and I now.
Yeah.
Man to
A rare
man.
thing, yeah.
Yes, even if he can't hear too well. And as we start talking, my mother breaks a huge bowl in the kitchen. And that was the end of our, because we had to help her clean up. And that was the, the moment left. And so we didn't have as he's dying, we didn't have our communion, that thing you love. And just the last thing, and then I realize as I take the train home back to Boston, that those guys, and this is in my mind, worked together from the beginning of my life to this. They worked together to hurt me. They really liked to torture me. They love theater.
Okay, and I think I would go somewhere different with that last part, or maybe if we even say, they like to hurt you, but I would, and I'm not even going to, I guess I'm not going to emphasize that. Whether they did or not, they did that to meet other needs. And let me just be more specific.
I'm going to wait. I'm not going to be quiet.
To make sense
all the time in the world.
I'm really glad that you gave us the story about your mother breaking the bowl. I'm going to believe that I'm going to believe your interpretation. And we don't know that's true, but we all know people do this. People do things to make something happen or to prevent something from happen. And I got the sense that your parents are trying to meet the needs to communicate to someone that they're not happy. But maybe they wanted to communicate, maybe in inflicting pain on you as a child, they were also communicating to the cosmos, to God, that we're not happy. We're not happy being parents. We're not happy with this child. But the need they were meeting was, if we accept the fact that they were aware we're causing pain to this child, if they weren't just trying to care for you the best they knew how, they may have also been trying to communicate. They're trying to be heard by some undefined judge, some undefined outside force. Oh, I really hear you guys. You want some empathy. You don't want to be parents.
Well, make it a little harder. Let's get rid of the God for the moment that was listening.
Uh-huh.
What are they? See, I think I know this because I'm their child.
Yeah.
There's something. I mean, people do like you know the old joke when the masochist asked the sadist, "Please hurt me." What does the sadist say?
It said no.
No,
okay, right. Oh, great. Yeah.
That's the deep part of people that they. I mean, that if you want to get into needs, people. I know this. There's some need to just hurt other people. My dear beloved mother, and I too, love people hurting. If I'm hurting so much, I want company.
Well,
you seem to be very happy, and I might be jealous, and I'm going to give you a back massage right now.
Well, and I am going to agree with that, but I still experience that as wanting companionship and compassion. It's horrifying to think that someone would choose that strategy. But I think I really like the words you use to describe it. It's I'm suffering. I want you to know what my suffering feels like.
I want company.
And I want to be understood.
Oh, wow, that's very beautiful.
I want to be known.
So this is going to change the world. So all of the greedy people in our world that are making this life so, including the Flint, Michigan people, let alone the 0.2%, they want more money, right?
It's hard for me to generalize about a whole.
Oh, I see. But at least it seems to be clear that the people in power in Michigan wanted to save a little amount of money.
They definitely wanted to save some money, right?
And they knew it was going to poison people. That's why they sent, I don't know if you know this part, they sent to their own city workers, they sent bottled water who were working in Flint.
Well, I didn't know that detail. I really wanted to take that in. That is a horrifying watershed to have that kind of awareness. I guess what needs would they be meeting? I guess in that moment, maybe a need for simplicity. They didn't know maybe their own version of a failure of imagination. I'm not absolving these people from this choice. I think it's horrible. If maybe someone should
No,
go
but
to...
this is more interesting. But if you think it's horrible, you think they're acting.
But I still don't think that they're sadists. I don't think they're going, I can't wait to poison these people.
No, they want money.
They
They were saving money.
They want to save money because they need to spend it somewhere else. I don't think anyone's having a good time in Flint, Michigan. I'm sure they have to pay police pensions and teachers and roads and all these other things, and I could have all sorts of disagreements about how they're spending money. I'm sure they're trying to solve a desperate problem, and they solved it in a really terrible way.
So Paul is very kind. We're going to be back to discuss sadism and nonviolent communication.
You heard it first.
He wasn't expecting this.
Great.
He thought he was going to be talking about the basics of nonviolent communication. First, you observe.
It's not going to happen.
We have 30 seconds. Observe without evaluation which we've been doing. Then you discover what your feelings are.
Right.
And you don't confuse it with thoughts, just your feelings.
Right.
Then you discover what the feelings point to what you need at the moment.
Right.
And then you make doable requests. We might exemplify this when we're discussing sadism and nonviolent communication.
I would think so.
We think. And be back in 3 minutes. Thank you for joining us, Columbia. And we'll see